Well, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we jump into tonight's second half, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. Merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button. It takes, half a second. If you don't want to miss any of the exciting and informative uploads, click that bell icon, and finally, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? All right, guys. Being that Victor is going to be coming back on the channel rather soon here, I figure, well, with all the new subs, why not share a few of Victor's older interviews with us that not many people caught. There were some that actually flew under the radar. And I figure, hey, let's share them and get people in the mood to have Victor back to share some more experiences. And for those of you that haven't heard them, give them a chance so they can hear them. So here we go. All right, guys, tonight I have Victor back with us. And he decided that he was going to discuss the LBL, his father's case, and his case, in one show for you guys tonight. Victor, how are you?
I'm good.
You sound good. You sound good. I'm looking forward to this because I've only heard bits and pieces of your dad's, just everyone knows the LBL story, but nobody knows your dad's version of what went down because he was there. So, or not there, but after the fact there. So, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay. Well, I thank you, and I'll give you my dad's views and what took place and what he done when he was there. After they got the call and they arrived there, he witnessed a 18-foot travel trailer. The way it was positioned was north to south with the tongue facing north. The tail of the trailer to the south. And that was towards a heavy wooded area in this particular campsite. There was other guests there this night also. There was two other sets of campers along with this family there that night. They stated all night when he interviewed the other two families that there had been howling all night and that everybody had been out talking about it. And this one family, I won't use their names, still don't have permission to use their names. And that they was very frightened by it and had talked about leaving. The dad was the only one that wanted to stay. The mother, the son, and the daughter all wanted to leave. But this was a brand new camper trailer, and they had been in it. I think they said this would be their third night. The family went to bed somewhere around 10:30, and the howling continued and got closer, according to the other families. One of them went to bed one of the other families went to bed at 11:15, and this hadn't happened at that time. So when they went to bed, they said that it sounded like this was just beyond this camper trailer, who was the furthest back in the campground. And they said that all of a sudden it just went totally quiet, silent. It stayed that way for 30, 40 minutes. No crickets, no nothing. And then the crickets came back and they eased off to sleep. And they was just getting to sleep. They said, this is coming from both of the other families said the same story. Said they was just getting off to sleep. And it sounded like there was an explosion. There was screaming. You could hear metal ripping, they said. And both of the men jumped out to see what they could see. They were shining lights back there. Said you could see the trailer shaking. And that it was over in a minute. Said 60 seconds, everything stopped. One of the men stayed there, the other one went out and made a call to the DNR or to the campground administrator. That's who they called. The campground administrator came in, went up there to the trailer and found what had happened. He actually found the man outside the camper. It looked like he was trying to run away and was drugged partially back inside. He had one foot in the trailer and the other one, the rest of them was outside. The woman never stood a chance. She was destroyed inside the trailer. The son was probably 30 foot behind the trailer. And the little girl that they call a little girl wasn't as little as everybody thinks. She was about 80 pounds. And she was found nearly 2 miles away. She was found in a tree, about 35 foot up a tree. And my dad retrieved her. And they was all just what was left of, wasn't a whole lot of anything that was left. And they took them to the coroner, and he said that it was either a bear attack or mountain lion. And he said it was a mountain lion or a bear. Well, they ruled out the mountain lion pretty quick because they couldn't figure out how it could tear into the camper trailer like that. So they was all saying bear, so they called the DNR in. DNR shows up and says that there's no way that it was a bear. Said a bear wouldn't tear into something like that in the first place. And there's no one finding tracks. They had ruled out the mountain lion. The DNR agent said that it couldn't be a bear. So he decides to make the call to us when they couldn't find tracks and everything, and got my dad involved. And they couldn't find any tracks. And finally my dad came upon the tracks and knowed what it was. Next morning early, they started the hunt. My dad and one other agent was there. And they had already found the little girl. They had found her during the night. They had actually walked up underneath the tree and blood had dripped down on them. And that's how they found her. So they went back to that position and was starting the hunt from there to see, you know, what they could find from there. And my dad was hidden along that area with another agent some many feet away, about 400 feet away is my recollection, I think is what he said. And they decided to wait till dark or at late evening and try to see if it come back in. So as they was starting out, they caught some movement. Just as they started to move, they seen some movement. So they both stayed and held their position. And as they did, here it come out of the far side, like out of a small opening, like thin trees, not like a field opening, but like thin trees openings. And was coming back. And it came back to that very same tree and was looking up to see if she was still in that tree. But she wasn't, because it done been taken down, and that's when my dad took it out. And that was a werewolf. And that was a lot of years ago. And then you come up, I think my hunt was exactly 7 years later. The same campground, they hadn't closed it down yet. They had the road blocked off to it, but the campground was there. And this hunter walks in, and he's walking into his tree stand. He's got a tree stand in there. And he witnesses something moving. And it was just a flash. He just caught the flash of something. So he thought it was a deer initially. And he goes to follow it. And it keeps going further and further and further. And this gentleman was a little up in years. He was 54. And he's getting to where he's decided that if he does kill it, he's not going to be able to get it out. He's walked probably a mile and a quarter. And he's decided that if he does kill a deer, he ain't going to be able to get it out. He's not going to be able to drag it out. So he stops. And he's hunting from the ground at that point. he's past his tree stand, and he decides to go back to his tree stand. And then he sees that flash again that was still going the opposite direction. But he gets a good glimpse at it, and then it stops, and he can see it like it's 60 yards or so is where we found the tracks, where we think he finally got to see it clearly. And he just froze. He didn't try to shoot it. He didn't move. He didn't do anything. But he dropped it back towards his vehicle. At this point, it just overtook him. It killed him, ripped him up really bad, and drug him back to the very same tree that that little girl, or she wasn't that little, but that girl was in. His family called the DNR and said that they had a missing hunter. And they found his truck that night, but they didn't find him. And with the circumstances being what they was, they went ahead and called us on account of the situation with the area. You know, some people believed in it, some people didn't. So they made the call about the area and called the scene. And at this time, I'm on. And I come down. I get there and find it, get to his vehicle, start tracking him. He was easy to track. I followed it straight to his bow. And then we start following drag marks. And we know then that it's bad, but on account of the amount of blood and everything that's around, that it's not going to be a rescue. It's going to be a recovery. And but what was mind-boggling was we followed it to the very same tree. He was up in the tree and wedged between two limbs. And the creature was about, 12 foot above him in the tree, asleep, sleeping across the limbs. And I shot it out of the tree, and it was a werewolf also. And that area is highly prone to them for some reason. It's a good travel area for them. It's always had them and probably always will. And it's just amazing that they went up the very same tree.
Yeah.
With that. And I even went there with my dad. And I wasn't going to say a word about what tree it took him up. And he took me to the very tree. And I was just amazed at what had happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of game in that area too, so that's probably a big reason why. I mean, there's plenty of water and plenty of deer, plenty of everything.
All kind of game. Yeah. All kind of game. There's deer, bobcat, rabbit, there's everything. And there's plenty of it. I mean, there's plenty of game there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's just all kinds all kinds of food in that area. So, but that's a father and son 7-year apart hunt.
You were pretty young back then too.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I was probably maybe 4 years into my career.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years tops. So, yeah. My dad was just about going out when that happened, and I was just coming in. So, a lot of years.
Yeah, most definitely. And there's a lot of accounts coming from that area as well. I mean, just...
Yeah. We've been in there so many times over the years since that happened. We've taken out so many. We've taken out Dogman from in there. We've taken out Werewolf from in there. We've taken out 2 unidentifieds.
No, when you say unidentified, what's that, like? You can't explain what they are, or you just shot them up so bad that you can't identify them, or?
No, it's just unidentified. That's what they're known as. And that was very early on in my career also, and I wasn't involved in neither one of them, but I know about them. But you know, I wasn't there when it happened.
Right.
So,
I got a couple quick questions I want to ask you. If you can answer these, I know we'll leave the location, maybe the state, but the location undisclosed. There's a recent hunt that you just went on, very recent, and you saw something that you'd never seen before. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. We did a very recent hunt, got a 911, and I took 16 agents there. We couldn't land the Hueys, so we had to let them rappel. We put them out in 4 4-man groups, and they had a successful hunt. They killed 11 dogmen and 5 werewolves. This individual was being terrorized by what he said was werewolves. And I could tell by my tracking device that we had creatures in the area that was from the breeding program that was right on top of him practically. And we went in and we killed 11 dogmen and 5 werewolves. Well, when we got them out, 8 of the dogmen had bobbed tails, less than 2 inches in length. And I've never seen it before. Never. I don't know if they're bobbing them, if they are deformed. That's an awful lot of deformities in one group.
Yeah, big coincidence.
And I don't think it's a coincidence. So I think they're trying to mimic maybe the werewolf, but they've got a snout on them, so they can't mimic a true werewolf. They don't have the full breast the chest of a werewolf either. They're big. We killed, of the 11 we killed, 7 of them was over 8 foot. So they was large.
Do you think
and
they were like, I wonder if they bobbed their tails because they realized that there was a call in, you guys were calling them in and, euthanizing them. I wonder if any of them had caught wind of that, but they can they communicate? I mean, do they communicate with each other? Is there a way like a werewolf can communicate? But I mean,
they communicate. I'm sure they do. They've got to.
Yeah.
But
so like, I mean, are they that intelligent to where they can, I mean, not verbally communicate with each other, but realize, hey, we're being now hunted. The only thing that's not getting hunted is the werewolf. They don't have a tail. We look pretty similar. Let's start getting rid of these tails. I mean, are they that intelligent?
I don't think so. But that's a question I'm going to have to ask some of the scientists.
Because that's a lot of intelligence, I mean, that's some really, I mean, tactical planning, wolves and, animals can tactically plan
let me
things,
say this.
Yeah.
They was being bred for war. And when we was going to lead them in, they know how to respond to commands. We could command them to do something, and they know how to do it. But as far as doing something on their own, I don't know if they would have that intelligence to bob their tails to try to look like something.
Right.
But if I was to give the order, if I was to program the order for 1,000 of them on chip to go after such and such person, they would do that. But how, I don't know how I could send an order to them to bob their tails.
Right.
And who would send it? I mean, I've got me and one more's got the key to that right now. So, and it takes both of us to do it.
Maybe there's something else going on. I don't know. It's definitely creepy. I mean, like you said, that's a big coincidence for 8 of them to have no tail, or a tail but 2 inches long. And obviously this guy, was shaken up, scared.
He's terrorized. Yeah. I heard it.
He described a werewolf.
Yeah.
And come to find out it's a Dogman. So I mean, geez, I wonder if do you think a rogue has Dogman and werewolf ever teamed up or packed together? Ever?
Not that I know of. Ever.
Evolution is weird, I mean, put something in the woods for a long time together. Eventually, they may periodically, who knows?
Yeah, it's possible.
Werewolf go rogue and get a little group of dogmen together, and who knows?
That's right. I can't swear that it couldn't happen.
Right.
I can't.
All right, guys, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd really like to thank everybody for all the support that you guys show to the channel. It's unbelievable. I'm looking forward to having Victor on, and like I said, with all the new subs out, they really haven't caught in the older interviews that were done. And a lot of these had actually flew under the radar. So I figure, hey, let's share the ones that I know have flown under the radar and get you guys amped up for a interview with Victor that will be coming up very soon. So I'm excited. Anyway, thank you once again. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, and may everyone stay blessed.